Today we are going to be reviewing a 2800 rated tank player. It is on console. We'll be going over mostly macro things, not just micro. Multiplayer also told me that, quote, I struggle with most comps and knowing when to push and when not to push. I also noticed from rewatching my gameplay that I use my resources for myself and not for my team. I gotta work on that as well. I also suck at peeling for my healers. As soon as I move back to peel, it feels like the front line collapses. So I will be looking out for your engages, so when you push, when you don't, and peeling. So let's go. Cool. You decide to take the high ground. And honestly, this is very, very important. Love this decision. What it does, the importance of high ground is that A, you get a better angle to fire down on the enemies, and the enemies, it's harder for the enemies to shoot you because they'll be looking upwards. And at any point in time, if you feel really pressured out, you can just back off and cut off LOS between those below you. It's very, very powerful. Not only that, currently your team is sitting back here playing around pillar. So if the enemy push in, or even if they don't push in, you have perfect access to pressure out their backline, which is huge, huge, huge value. Yeah. Now the Reinhardt does pin in, but that's not really something you can help with, nor is it something that should be a problem. They've lost both DPS. Honestly, just pressuring out their support line in tanks is just what you should be doing. Okay. Now, on first point, you decided to take high ground. And again, on second point, I would also like you to take high ground. Always, 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 always take high ground if you can. Like, especially as the off tank. Actually, there are two off tanks. So if your Roadhog wanted to take high ground, he could. But personally, I think you are more suited towards taking high ground. Yeah, I would rather have the Sigma on high ground here instead of the Roadhog. I know your teammates may be all like, you know, we need a shield, but you don't. Like, they were perfectly fine on first point. Something else I would like to note is that your half of your team is not there. And right now it's a 3-on-3, which is okay. But if any more of the enemy shows up, you are going to want to back out immediately. Right, so you flux here, which is fine. You could have landed yourself on high ground, giving yourself a great angle to poke down the enemy team, maybe even deal with the Ashe, although I think she is slightly out of your range. But you end up dropping main, which is really unfortunate. I think you should always, like, Sigma Flux is a great ultimate because you can reposition yourself onto high grounds where you would normally not be able to get to at all. I'm trying to think of the logistics. Yeah, no, just sitting here taking damage is not the way you want to go. You just, if you want to take Bob aggro for a little bit, sure. But I would like you to just rotate back into cover. Wait for the Mail to, like, freeze the Reinhardt, or just pressure out the people who are caught in your Mail. Yeah, like, yeah, because your job isn't just to sit here and tank. Right. So your Roadhog gets picked. Okay. So in these cases where respawns are really, really fast for the enemy, basically, I never want you, and I never want you to stagger in like this. Like, it's essentially a 4v, it's a 4v4 or 4v5. So you're down a player and you're up against better respawns. And that's just very, very hard to beat. I'm not sure if you are in voice, if you are in team chat or anything. I'm not exactly sure what the console situation is like. I don't know if you guys have voice. But if you are able to communicate with your teammates, I would suggest that you ask them to regroup, back out, and don't go in. Because you can see that the team fight is lost. You can see the outline of your team through walls, so before each fight, if you want to, you can just get a good grasp of how many players are alive, and based off of that, decide if you want to go in or not. And right here, going in here is just going to, it's not going to turn out well for you. Yep. It's just, you can't win. There are just too many of them. Too many. All right. You get out, which is probably because, all right, there you go. They invest ults to clean it up and not let you out. So you flux the Lucio. You land good shots into him. He's just above half. And Sigma Flux is going to do half of the HP to anyone. So you know the Lucio is going to be 1 HP when he drops. So what you probably could have and should have done is gotten yourself to high ground, given yourself a better angle to hit the Lucio when he drops. And when he does drop, it's free kill. Your orbs have splash damage. This would have been a very easy pick for you. Alright, so you're back on Sigma. And you're on the high ground, which is great. Very, very important. Very, very important. What's the problem here? You dropped off of high ground, and you gave their Reaper high ground for free. Should not have dropped. Should have stayed high ground. If the Reaper pushes off up, you can, with the help of like maybe one of your supports, you could try to like force him off, or just make it really hard for him to come up here. Yeah, actually, if you charged a rock while he was teleporting, you could have released it as soon as he came out, would have knocked him down into your team, and your team could have dealt with him pretty comfortably, assuming your team would turn around and focus him. But yeah, right now you give him high ground, which is not great. Not great, not great. And then you decide to ignore him. If you know a Reaper is in position to harass your backline, you, as the Sigma or the off tank, you cannot just turn around and ignore him. Because if he kills your backline here, then that's kind of on you. I hope he doesn't. Okay, he slept. Good. Now, his entire team was not ready to push in, not ready to engage, but this is ranked, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a pick on one of your supports there. All right. So you're pushing in here. Is it because you're up one? That's fine. Would have kept pressuring the Ashe. Could have gotten an easy kill there. All right. So I understand pushing forward if it's because you killed the Reaper. But I do want you to be careful of playing this far forward. Because realistically, they're way too far back for your entire team to actually push through the choke. Because this is kind of their space. You can't push through. And like watching your POV, I know you can tell that you can't push through here. But your team wants to play close. So what you can do is you can let them in. Now, I'm not saying this isn't going to work, because this is comp. And you're probably still going to get picks. Yeah. But your resources can get drained. And at a certain point, it might just become very easy for them to push in. So I do want you to be careful. As soon as your barrier breaks and you drop under half health, you should immediately be looking for your supports. Is your Mercy dead? See, The disadvantage of playing far forward is that if they get a pick, they can push in, and you guys aren't in a great position to take a fight. In fact, your entire team is kind of chunked. Your On is low, you're under half health, your Mei's low, your Ryan's a little chunked. Like the only one on your team that's actually full HP is your Ashe. So, yeah, you should be backing, especially since your Mercy's dead. You need to be super aware of this. Like, you should have been backing as soon as your shield broke and you dropped under half health. When you realized your Mercy was dead, I'm not sure if you did, you should have backed off even harder. And when they tranced, you know they're going in. They're going balls deep into you. They're going to rush you as hard as they can. You need to get out. So I see you move forward a little bit, hold the W key for like half a second. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You need to get out, out. No rock. It slows you down. Yeah, like I don't mind you holding this close. I'd rather you be on the high ground in a better location with your team just playing around statue. But if you wanted to, you need to know when to run. And I want you to go high ground. Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, what is the problem with this? The problem with this is that your entire team is dead and not in the fight. Like your hog might be there in, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds, but your team is completely out of the fight. And it's just you and the Mei poking against a Ashe, Zarya, Rissa, Zen, and a Mercy damage boost. Your shield is going to get melted, and you are going to have all your resources forced. And even if you get out, it's going to take a long time for your shield to come back, for your shift to come back. And if your team wants to take an aggressive fight, they won't be able to, because you're not going to be ready. Or they might just take a fight without you being ready, which means they will also lose. Because I'm not sure the level of communication, but most of the time, they won't be listening. Yeah, no. If all you wanted was a shift, get out. Out. Like, the thing about Overwatch is you don't always need to be doing something. Right? And your Mei gets out. I mean, she trades for res. Whatever. She gets out. You should also be getting out. Like, don't get me wrong, this is a nice off angle. But the thing about off angles is you need to time your pressure. You need to coordinate and make sure that it isn't a feed. Like if your team is engaging, then you can take the off angle and go spam as hard as you want. Why? Because the enemy is being pincered and they can't all focus on you or they'll get run over by your team, and they can't do vice versa. Most likely they'll just split their attention. Nobody, the off angle won't be dealt with. The main angle won't be dealt with because everyone's attention is split on different people, and they'll probably all collapse. So, like, your team is like almost ready to go in, except for the fact that your Ashe is not even in the fight. Which, I know it's ranked, and I know it's going to be very, very hard to coordinate, especially if you don't have voice chat. But if you see your team starting to go in, like, your Mei is kind of in, but, like, I would have waited. You can see your team through walls. I would have waited half a second more, and if you see the Hog pushing through, if you see the Mercy pushing through, then maybe. Because you know that they're going in, and you might as well take a 5v6 rather than a 3v6. Yeah. Yep, nice pick. Ash was kind of throwing. You're holding high ground. And you drop! Please stop dropping. Your team doesn't need a shield in front of them. Like, so many of the fights, they've won without a shield. They don't need a shield. They really don't. They can play around cover. They can play smart. They don't need you here. Like, your shield isn't even that strong. Like, you throw up a shield, it's gone in like half a second. And it has to recharge. Like, you're not a character that can just shield your team. I know you said that you use your shield selfishly, but I don't know. I disagree. You seem to be playing with team, using your shield for team. I would much rather prefer if you were using your shield more selfishly on an off angle, because it's so much more powerful. And you talked about peeling. Well, any amount of damage that they decide to shoot at you on your shield or with your stock is damage that's not going towards your enemy team. All right, go high ground, high ground, high ground. No. All right, you invest Blizzard, so very powerful ultimate. You might win this. Okay. Trying to deal with Bob. Are you nano? Oh, you are nano. That's cool. Yeah, so this nano's cool and all. Force trance, sure. Forcing trance is actually huge, because as soon as the trance is over, you can flux him if you want. But you just be doing so much more on high ground. Hit the Junkrat. Yep, he's dead. You drop in their backline. Okay, why do you drop it on their backline? Because it's a better angle to shoot at. But there are better angles. Like if you were on high ground, actually this is kind of awkward because it's like right below. But you can, maybe around here. Yeah, you can shoot at the Zen, pressure out the Zen. The Zen's incredibly low. Like being on high ground is not only a better place to do damage, but it gives you a better view of the entire map. Like you're going to be able to see things like, oh, Zen is low. That's a free kill. Because if you don't know Zen's low, he's just going to regen up shields, and you're going to lose out on the opportunity to get the free kill. Like legitimately, I'd say always, always, always be on high ground. Like you don't even need to be this close to Larissa to shoot her. You can bounce your projectiles off walls. You can just shoot them at her feet. You don't need to be this close. Also, status on your team. Ah, okay. Tracer's on your team. That's something else high ground will always do. If you're sitting here spamming down from high ground on the enemy team and you hear Anna's hurt, like it's very easy to get an entire view of the entire battleground. Like you could very easily find the Anna, very easily find the Tracer, and very easily help her if you're on a better position. If you're in a better position to just see the battlefield and understand it. So I understand that you want to both block damage from the enemy team and help your Ana. In this scenario, you can just throw out your shield and try to pelter the Tracer for a little bit. In the end, it doesn't really matter because there's like only 3 of you alive. It's a 3v6. It is a 3v6. You're not going to win this anyways. Okay. 4v6. You're not going to win this anyways. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Like, I know the supports were probably yelling at you, like, oh, appeal. But, you know, it really wasn't much of a fight. Like, if you were up here, or... Is there a way for someone to get up here? Yeah, there's a staircase up here. So if you wanted to be up here, you could be. And when the enemy starts shooting at you, you know, you can suck, you can shield if you want. Yeah. So you're kind of pushing into them, which is something that's generally more acceptable on offense. But when you're on defense, honestly, I'd say let them come to you. No need to take space on defense. Like, or if you're going to take space, you need to take a corner and just play here and let them come to you. You don't ideally want to be pushing and taking space with Sigma alone like this. Were you pushing with the barrage? Can't tell if that was coordinated. If that was coordinated, that's a bit more understandable. Let me see. Far goes Al Barrage. All right. If your goal was to push with a barrage, which I don't think it was, but in the future, if you decide to, then you do want to be significantly more in. Like your entire team should just be in with the Pharah, because right now she's barraging the team, which is cool, but no one else on your entire enemy team is really doing anything. Like maybe your hog will get a hook. That's it. Besides that, it's essentially a 5v6 or 5v1. And it could even be argued that it is a 6v1 because Zen's going to get Discord and everything. So if the play is let's go aggressive with Barrage, then you need to go significantly more aggressive. Like you need to be in, Mercy needs to be pocketing your Pharah, Reaper needs to be in, Ana needs to be looking for a nade in a more aggressive position. Yeah, this. So yeah, either you guys need to play more defensive or play more aggressive. Now I don't know if this was communicated, but if it was, we need to keep that in mind. So yeah, you guys still get some picks, which is nice. Kill the Tracer, good. Then's one. Yeah, you're just gonna clean it up. Now, the one thing I'd be wary of here is overextending. Now your barrier's completely gone. They are just about grouped up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's their Tracer? Oh, yeah. No, they are grouped up for the fight. They, as soon as their supports and Torbjorn push forward. Actually, is he just gonna play back here? He might just play back here. But their Zen's gonna start taking angles, start shooting down, start discording very shortly. And the problem is you have no barrier health. I would say if you're poking before a fight, that's fine. Like, I don't even want you poking that much before a fight. But if you are poking before a fight, I do not want your resources forced. You don't even have Sigma Grasp. Yeah, you have very little resources here. You have left clicks and rock. So yeah. Yeah, you talked about peel, and this is good. This is good. Like, if you need to, you can body block for the Tracer, which I think you are doing. Yeah, you're doing fine. You're doing completely fine for peeling. You just need to be in a position to see it. Okay. So here, when your hog is ulting, you know that your hog is the win condition. So you could pelt the enemy team with left clicks, but something you could also do is you could also shift on top of your hog. Okay, so overall, to answer your questions, struggle knowing when to push and when not to push. I would say push when you have a significant advantage. Don't push past people or let people get past you. And just hope that your team will be able to take care of them. And yeah, you can push when you have an advantage, but with your comp, like if you're running Brawl comp, right? If you had a Ryan, Sigma, Lucio Moira, Reaper's fine, and like May or something like that, then your default state when you have an advantage would be, let's go in and let's play a bit more aggressive, right? But with your specific comp, and it's more of a hybrid comp, but throughout most of the game, I know it was a bit more pokey with like the Mercy damage reduced Ashe. It is a bit of a hybrid comp where the Mei does want to play fast, but like, and you're like mid-ranged, but like nobody else really wants to play close ranged. You don't really have to push like to get kills, especially if you're like forfeiting high ground or your position. Because even if you forfeit, or even if you get a few extra kills and a few extra staggers, I want you to always be in the proper position. Okay. And as for peeling for your healers, that's tied to positioning. If you're in If you're on high ground, you're going to be able to see the battlefield easier. You're going to be able to see healers. You're going to be able to see their DPS easier. You're going to be able to see everything. It's going to make it easier for you to peel. And you're also going to take pressure off of your team because the enemy team will be shooting you. And when they do so, you want to make sure that you are coordinating with your team and your team is in. You don't want to make it so that you're going in alone or not as 6. Besides that, using resources for yourself and not your team, I think that's actually not true from what I see. You keep on stacking with your team a lot, throwing out your shield for your team. I'd say use it for yourself because you're indirectly peeling.